The United States Navy Flight Demonstration Squadron, the Blue Angels, represents the Navy and Marine Corps' finest. Each member, whether officer or enlisted, is handpicked from the fleet to be part of the Blue Angels team. Each year, this select group of individuals begin a 2- or 3-year rotation as a Blue Angel, a group that will travel across the country and around the world in performances that will thrill and inspire all that see them, and reinforce in our hearts that perfection is not just an ideal, but can be achieved as a team and as an individual. The air show is a great American tradition. Each summer, millions flock to venues around the country to see, touch, and feel the magic of flight. There's nothing like an air show. Flying machines of all sizes, shapes, and abilities. If you love planes, an air show is heaven on earth. A gravity-defying paradise that holds the seeds of perfection. For some kids, a trip to an air show is better than an excursion to the candy store. To be up close, to feel and smell what you've only dreamt about is breathtaking, especially when the candy is blue and gold. It was this very experience, whether they knew it or not at the time, that led many to become Blue Angels.
I was probably about 6 years old when I saw the Blue Angels fly for the first time at Willow Grove Naval Air Station outside of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. And I remember even at that age thinking it would be a neat dream. I never figured it would come true, but it's always been in the back of my mind as something that would be a great adventure.
I was about 18 years old the first time I saw the Blue Angels, and it was just the flying. The flying is what it was. To see those 4 aircraft in there tucked together real tight, and the other 2 aircraft performing the high-performance maneuvers. I mean, it just shivers down your spine. The sneak pass, and they come racing over top. You can pull up for the vertical rolls. That itself was just the thrill. That is what did it for me.
I would say I think I was about 10 years old, and I was in Kalamazoo, Michigan, at the air show there, and I was just totally, enamored by the whole thing. Going, wow.
For the Blue Angels, every season begins not at their home base of Pensacola, Florida, but about 7 miles from the Mexican border in El Centro, California, the winter home of the Blue Angels. Every season, the entire squadron packs it up and leaves Pensacola for 10 weeks of intense training. The team winters in El Centro for a number of reasons. Mainly to be away from distractions and the fact that the California desert has ideal weather conditions with clear flying skies. It's also where the Blue Angels come together as a team.
Hand salute. Ready, 2.
Far from the public's eye, the team will live and work together, bonding into a well-oiled machine both in the air and on the ground. It's also a time of transition where new team members learn the ropes and the various jobs it takes to keep the show on the road. With the first show of the season a little more than 2 months away, there's an incredible amount of work and training to do.
Hey, Jay, how's it going? How you doing, boss? What's going on?
It's a particularly intense time for the commanding officer and flight leader of the Blue Angels. Boss, the call sign given to the leader of the Blues, is responsible for the entire team. Being chosen the boss is no small feat. Besides being a seasoned pilot, the boss will have commanded a fleet squadron and logged a minimum of 3,000 flight hours. The jump bar for running one of the greatest shows on Earth is exceptionally high, especially when you're learning how to be a team for the first time.
If you come into this job as the flight leader, you have never flown in the Blue Angels before, and you've got to learn how to be the flight leader. And it takes all your concentration and all your effort to focus on that task. We go out and we fly 6 days a week for 2.5 months. We fly 2 or 3 times a day in order for the team to train me, basically, to lead them in the air.
Each year, 3 demonstration pilots join the team. The learning curve is steep.
Ladies and gentlemen, flying Blue Angel number 1, the commanding officer and flight leader of the Blue Angels, from Homewood, Illinois, Captain Patrick Driscoll.
The Blue Angels team is made up of 14 different job skills that must come together to form a self-contained unit. The enlisted team for maintenance and support consists of about 110 members from both the Navy and Marine Corps. Throughout the show season, nearly 50 team members travel to show sites on a rotating basis.
We're good to go.
The team has 16 officers, including the 7 that pilot the Blue Jets. The number 7 pilot, a first-year Blue Angel, is the team's narrator and conducts media and VIP flights.
All right, William, you ready to go?
Number 7 also has the responsibility of arriving a day before the rest of the team with his crew to meet with show site officials to make sure all logistics are in place. Cars, hotels, and most important, that the FAA has approved all flight parameters for the show. Number 6, the opposing solo, is flown by a first-year demonstration pilot. The 6th pilot is typically the previous season's 7th pilot, the team narrator. Blue Angels number 5, the lead solo, also serves as the squadron's operation officer, second in command to the boss. Number 5 is a second-year demo pilot who is usually a third-year Blue Angel, having previously served as number 7 and 6.
They said I can keep it.
Number 4 is the slot position. The slot pilot is always a second-year pilot and is the safety officer. From his position in the diamond, he has the best sight picture of the formation. Although each pilot can call off a maneuver for safety reasons, he has the responsibility to call off any maneuver that may endanger the entire formation. Experience with the diamond is essential since this formation has the plane's wingtip to wingtip, at times separated only by a foot, traveling in excess of 350 knots.
And salute.
Number 3 is the left wingman, piloted by a first-year Blue Angel, who will usually assume the slot position in his second year. Number 2, the right wingman, is typically piloted by a United States Marine to maintain continuity throughout the diamond. And then there's the boss.
Ready, headed. Yeah. That's right.
As summer approaches, the team has already moved back to Pensacola. Today, they'll leave for Andrews Air Force Base for what will be their 10th show side of the season. A season where they'll perform over 80 times in 41 different cities across the country. From Anchorage, Alaska, to home base Pensacola, and points in between. During the show season, with few exceptions, the team stages out of Pensacola to various show locations. It's a grueling 6-day-a-week schedule of long days and nights on the road. The team's events coordinator, a naval flight officer, is responsible for setting up, negotiating, and taking care of the team's road logistics.
It's quite a footprint that we carry around with us. We'll take about 55 to 60 individuals with us on the road each weekend. Fat Albert, our C-130, will actually transport all those folks, the parts, all the tools, and then we'll take 7 jets on the road. And just logistically, to keep those airplanes in the air, keep them maintained and flying the way they need to be flying, it takes quite a few individuals to do that.
The normal ops for the team is to fly early on Thursday to the show location. The team sets up to recover the aircraft as they land. Upon arrival, the Blue Jets will fly what is called a circle and arrival to verify show checkpoints and maneuver timings. Later Thursday afternoon and again on Friday, they will fly practice demonstrations in preparation for their Saturday and Sunday performances. Generally, the team will fly home Sunday night, with Monday their only day off at Pensacola. At every show site, about 25,000 pounds of equipment, 45,000 pounds of fuel plus luggage and personnel are transported. An amazing feat. This C-130, known as Fat Albert Airlines, is piloted and maintained by an all-Marine Corps crew. In addition to the 3 pilots assigned to the team, the crew is comprised of 2 flight engineers, 2 navigators, and a loadmaster, all of whom are responsible for knowing each other's jobs.
Our primary purpose is to support the Navy Flight Demonstration Squadron, Blue Angels. And essentially, when people think of the Blue Angels, they think about the 6 jets they get to see flying at an air show. So we're the support aircraft for that. And we take pride in that, and being the only support aircraft in carrying all the people, the men, women, and equipment, parts, tools, everything we need to put on a show somewhere outside of Pensacola. So we travel with Fat Albert every weekend that the jets are traveling.
In the course of the season, Fat Albert will log over 140,000 miles, and at certain show sites during the season is the opening act for the Blues.
The Blue Angel maintenance crew and their equipment travel aboard a United States Marine Corps C-130 Hercules transport, affectionately known as Fat Albert.
As the show opener, the C-130 demonstrates its short runway jet-assisted takeoff, or JATO, capability. 8 solid fuel rockets are attached to the sides of the aircraft, 4 on each side. When the rockets are ignited on takeoff, Fat Albert, climbing at a 45-degree angle, reaches an altitude of 1,500 feet within seconds. It's a real crowd pleaser and an extreme experience inside the 130, as crew members can experience moments of weightlessness. Each season for the Blue Angels, there's that one set of shows that really works you. The extended road trip, where the team is on the road for 3 weeks straight. For the cities they visit, it's thrilling. For the crew, if all goes well, it's a piece of cake. On this road trip, cake is tough to come by. Hillsboro, Oregon marks the first stop of a 3-week, 3-city tour that'll take them to Elmendorf Air Force Base in Anchorage, Alaska, and finally to Seattle, Washington. It's Friday morning, the second day of practice, but it's really a show. In fact, practice days, usually Thursday and Friday, draw selected audiences of special needs guests and military families. Bottom line is, it's a complete show right down to the Blue Angels ground-based maneuver, the walk down.
Observe the military manner in which the 6 demonstration pilots approach their aircraft and are saluted by their crew chiefs.
Good one, Bob. See ya. See ya. See ya.
At the beginning of each show, a tightly choreographed routine between the pilots and crew is performed. It's a performance that speaks volumes to the professionalism and precision that foreshadows the aerial display. No wasted motions, every body movement and hand signal is meaningful. The walk down is a Blue Angels tradition. After a few days of fighting various problems on the jets, Saturday rolls around and the show gets underway, but not without challenges. Immediately after takeoff, number 6, the opposing solo, develops a problem and has to land. And as always, the 7 jet is waiting and hot to go for situations just like this. The pilot taxis right up to the 7 aircraft, pops out, and is immediately strapped in, taxis out, and takes off to rejoin the show that continues overhead.
The 6 aircraft called the comm cart, said immediately on takeoff he had engine surging in his starboard motor. So as soon as we were notified, power plants got all of our tools together. As soon as the plane shut down and 6 was clear, we were able to start working on the jet. Within an hour from him landing, we knew approximately we had to change out the motor, and that C-130 Fat Albert had to actually go get the motor from Lemoore, California.
Once the new motor was secured, the crew worked well into the night to ready the jet for Sunday's show. By morning, the 7 pilot was able to do the proficiency check flight, or PRO. The last Hillsborough show went off without a hitch. The Blues field the best maintenance crews in the fleet. A good thing, since the Blue Angels fly some of the oldest FA-18s in the fleet. The best aircraft are logically held in defense of our country. These guys keep the show on the road and in the air.
Every single guy, all the maintenance guys and gals on the team, every single one of those guys are handpicked. They're all superstars. They were all the best maintainers from their respective maintenance departments and squadrons. So we're very fortunate.
The Boeing FA-18 Hornet first joined the fleet in 1982 and became the Blue Angels' ride of choice in November of 1986. The Hornet is the first aircraft designed as a dual-role fighter attack jet, serving on the nation's front lines of defense. This role continues as the new FA-18E and F Super Hornets are delivered to the fleet. For over 19 years, the Hornet and now the Super Hornet have been the favorite among naval aviators, and of course, the Blue Angels.
Well, it's a state-of-the-art fighter and attack aircraft predominantly used throughout the fleet in the Navy. And so what we want to do is represent the men and women that are aboard the aircraft carrier, deployed 24 hours a day, around the clock, all around the world. So for us to have the opportunity to fly the F-18 Hornet and demonstrate its capabilities to the American public is exceptional.
It's Tuesday morning, and after 2 successful shows in Oregon and a day off, it's time to move to the next show site, Elmendorf Air Force Base in Anchorage, Alaska. Pilots always ferry their own jets to locations, and depending upon the length of the trip, there's sometimes the need for a little mid-air top-off. Part of the show's logistics for travel is securing fuel en route, making sure tankers are available. You can imagine at a burn rate of 5 gallons per minute, the FA-18's gas mileage makes even the biggest SUV look like a small drink of water. Upon arriving in Anchorage, what they find doesn't make anyone happy. Weather. Wet weather. Low ceilings and rain are predicted all week. Week 2 out of 3 on the road starts tough. The weather is turning from poor to bad. Because of visibility problems and low cloud cover, the team decides for safety reasons to rehearse what is called a low show. It's a show with modified routines that lowers the performance altitudes. If conditions deteriorate even further, the team would have to perform what is called a flat show, which is essentially flat passes of the show site in various formations, emphasizing speed. The maneuvers the Blue Angels perform have been developed over the years. Some routines are added and some are removed or modified. But whatever ends up in the show reflects the personality of the team and is nonetheless always dramatic. All the maneuvers performed are keyed to one spot in the show box, center point. At most shows, center point is marked by a parked school bus or trailer placed directly in front of the grandstand. This provides the audience with the best view of the show and provides a convergence point for all maneuvers. It's also along the center point line that the announcer, officers, and other support personnel are staged. The comm cart provides communication between all elements of the team during shows. It's also from this vantage point that the flight surgeon and maintenance officer will critique the show and later debrief the team on their performance. Of all the maneuvers performed, the diamond formation is the Blue Angels' trademark. It requires pinpoint precision and the ability of the team to function as one. In the diamond formation, planes are nearly touching with a spacing of less than 3 feet between wingtips. During the diamond, the boss slowly and calmly directs the action while flying the routine eyes forward. All others in the formation are concentrating with eyes on, keeping aligned with the proper spacing, lining up on marks on the other aircraft. This formation is so precarious and tight that any sudden change, a sneeze, a twitch, or cough could mean disaster. It is also the main reason the Blues do not wear G-suits. The automatic inflation of the bladders of the G-suit to counteract the extreme forces of gravity could actually bump the stick. That's how sensitive and precise their flying must be in the diamond formation. Although parts of the performance look sedate, throughout the show, the pilots must execute high-speed, high-G turns that are either part of the maneuver or used to get into position for a maneuver. During these high-speed turns, the Blues can be pulling as much as 7.5 Gs, enough force for an unsuited aviator to begin to black out. To counteract this, Blue Angel pilots practice a technique called the hook, where they tense their lower body muscles and grunt out the word hook. This keeps the blood from pooling in their lower extremities during the high-G maneuvers. It's an extremely taxing and intense technique. Technique and the hook aside, the bottom line is putting on a great show for over 15 million people that come out to see the Blues each year. And as you would guess, each pilot has their favorite maneuver and an opinion to the #1 crowd pleaser.
The one most challenging maneuver, at least for me, is the line abreast loop. And that's the maneuver where we all prepare to go into a loop and we all spread out and we're exactly even across the horizon. And the wingmen are just looking directly over their shoulders right at me and have very little reference to see as far as the horizon goes or whether their wings are level. And my job as a flight leader is to do a perfect loop with no wings at all, and that allows them to stay in position.
The one that I really try to take a lot of pride in is our last solo maneuver that we do, which is the tuck over roll. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to give the crowd an illusion that it's one aircraft. We roll upside down on the lead solo's call, and once we establish in an upside down position, he is trying to hide himself behind my aircraft. And I think that is probably one of the more difficult ones. Definitely the one that I strive, because it's the last one. I got to give it 110%. Probably a little tired at that time to make sure that I do my best on that maneuver.
We're behind the ground, center for the Diamond 360.
I would say our Diamond 360, it's the first maneuver that the Diamond does, and we come by the crowd. We do it at a relatively slow speed, about 300 knots, so around 325 miles an hour, which is relatively slow for us, but we're going to get as close as we possibly can. The wingman's wingtip #2 and #3 are going to come within, sometimes within about a foot of one another, and I just always thought, wow, it's hard to believe that that's 4 aircraft up there working together that close to one another. It's pretty neat, pretty special.
I always like the sneaks just because it's so loud and so cool and scares everyone. Everyone jumps, and
you know, that's kind of the neatest one, I think, for the crowd perspective.
Friday in Alaska turns out not to be a very good day. After the practice demonstration, a couple of jets come back with problems. One aircraft has a radar squawk and requires the unit to be serviced, while the number 5 jet is having a little more serious problem with the electrical system. Serious enough to warrant what amounts to back surgery. There seems to be an intermittent electrical problem showing up. The trick is locating the source of the anomaly. The crews will work all night if they have to correct the problems, with the first show of the weekend less than 24 hours away. It's times like these that the team really pulls together and brings to bear all the experience and skills that qualified them to be Blue Angels.
The enlisted people are the heart and soul of this team. They keep these airplanes flying day after day after day. I break them, they fix them. So, and it takes an incredible amount of teamwork because people are doing jobs that they don't normally do in the fleet. They'll come here and learn a certain job and do something different. So everybody pitches in and helps to fix that airplane to get it for the next day's air show.
The weather has not improved. The team will perform a low show today. And to top off the morning, number 2 has developed an internal fuel leak. Not good. The team immediately swings into action and begins to effect a repair. Problem is, the closest spare motor is located over 4 hours away at NAS Whidbey Island in Washington State.
Come in on the Paramount pilot.
The team has to first pull the motor and then ship it via Fat Albert to swap it out with the spare that has been positioned in Washington. The number 4 aircraft, along with the C-130, will miss today's performance. Fat Albert's day will stretch into an 11-hour round trip to facilitate the motor swap and to keep the show rolling.
This morning, our morning turns didn't go so well. We had a problem with the 2-jet. It had an internal engine fuel leak, so we're having to change that motor out. And in the interim, we're going to put a different aircraft in the lineup, and that's what you see behind us going on is we're changing the numbers on that jet, and it's going to be a 2 for the show, so we'll be looking good for the air show.
Number 4 will go into the number 2 position. Number 7, the 2-seater, will assume the slot position. Due to the 2-seat configuration and how jets must line up in the diamond, the slot is the preferred place number 7 could be used. The number on the 4 jet is stripped and repainted as number 2. Special environmentally friendly paint is used for the tail numbers so they can be easily removed and applied. Saturday's show went off with the number 7 jet in the diamond. Bert returned later that evening, and the crews worked during the night to install the new motor. Sunday was a non-event in terms of maintenance, but it was a big event to the crowds that braved the elements to see the Blues up close. Seattle, Washington, the final leg of a 3-week road trip, almost home. Seattle is one of a handful of show sites at which the Blue Angels perform every year, and it's also what they call a remote show. A remote show is one where the team is staged at a different site than the actual performance location. In Seattle, the aircraft are parked south of the downtown area in Boeing Field. They'll perform over Lake Washington about 5 miles away. No matter where the Blue Angels perform, their routine remains the same. Even the walk down is performed with precision on a remote show.
We got the JATO today with
but the single most important event for the pilots outside the performance is the briefings.
Runway 26. We're going to muster at 14:45 for a 14:55 walk. Take off at 15:10. Land a diamond will be in from the left.
Briefings and debriefings take place every time the Blues fly. In these very private meetings, every aspect of the operation is gone over and discussed.
Rolling out some bank, go line abreast.
The boss discusses what needs to be done, what they've done well, and what they need to work on.
Wings are level. Smoke on. Pull.
In the briefings, every move and maneuver is rehearsed and gone over mentally, down to the hand movements on the stick.
A little more pull, adding power.
Tremendous concentration is needed to achieve the level of perfection that is expected of the Blue Angels.
Safely.
Yes, sir, boss. Some good stuff yesterday. A couple things we can still work on, placement and timing-wise. So we'll see if we can't make some improvements there. And we got to work real hard on Delta. Our Delta wasn't so slick yesterday. So let's see if we can get after that one. It's going to be a hot one.
Depending on the day's events, debriefings can be as short as an hour or stretch out into the evening.
All right, Diamond Solos, Comcart, Bird Tower, narrator. Let's have a good one.
All right.
All right, man.
All right, Mo.
Have a good one.
All right. See you. More pull later, put
It turns out that the third time's the charm. It's smooth sailing for the team in Seattle. On the third and final leg of a long road trip, the Blue Angels are rewarded with clear skies and record crowds. The bottom line for everyone, the team, the audience, and all the kids who ever had dreams of flight is this: the flying. All the hard work and dedication boils down to 45 minutes of blue and gold perfection. Early in the show, the Blues' trademark formation is showcased in its most extreme, the Diamond 360. In this maneuver, the boss initiates a circular pass above the crowd, traveling in excess of 300 knots, with wingtips nearly touching, all the while in a 60-degree bank. This maneuver is much more complicated than it looks, since each jet must fly at slightly different speeds to maintain the perfect diamond. The Solo's first head-on speed maneuver is the opposing knife edge pass. 5 and 6 close on each other at 350 knots head-on. Then each crisply rolls into a 90-degree angle of bank as they cross center point simultaneously. Done flawlessly. It's spectacular for the crowd, but even more impressive from the cockpit.
Rolling out the diamond dirty loop, a little dry.
Any maneuver that is performed with gear extended is called dirty due to the resulting turbulence in airflow. Add this to the diamond, then perform a loop, and you have the diamond dirty loop. The added drag of the landing gear dramatically increases the complexity and the pilot workload of this maneuver. The Blue Angels are the only jet demonstration team in the world performing this highly dangerous maneuver.
He's in a pump. Burners ready now. He's in power. He's in more power. Stand by the boards. Boards.
solo minimum radius turn is a move right out of Aerial Combat 101. It's a level 360-degree high-speed turn, and in this demonstration, it's performed just 200 feet off the deck. In a dogfight, the ability to outturn your opponent is a matter of life and death. During this maneuver, the lead solo pulls over 7 Gs.
From the right, the Blue Angels, double barrel.
In the double farball, the team approaches center point in the diamond. Just seconds from center point, the boss and slot pilot in jets 1 and 4 roll inverted simultaneously while maintaining the formation.
Boss is set, 375, rolling in. AKM.
By far, the biggest crowd pleasers are the next 2 maneuvers performed by the solos, the sneak pass and sneak pass to vertical rolls. As the crowd's focus is drawn to the slow and graceful left echelon roll, Jet 5 roars past the crowd from the left, pushing the speed of sound. Enough velocity to create a compression bubble around his plane. The resulting roar always rocks the unsuspecting crowd. Then, almost immediately, the opposing solo in number 6, coming from directly behind the crowd, blasts over the top, and at center point pulls into a series of vertical rolls. The diamond vertical break is a beautiful maneuver that's harder than its graceful execution looks. This time, the diamond approaches from behind the crowd. At center point, they perform a 60-degree climb, then split into 4 separate directions, inverted. If you look closely, number 4 must make a 180-degree roll while separating from the diamond to exit in the right direction, upside down. Section High Alpha is your basic 15 tons of jet levitation trick. The idea here is to have 2 FA-18s fly as slowly as physically possible without dropping out of the sky, around 120 knots, then slamming on the power, proving that with enough thrust, anything is possible. Igniting afterburners, number 6 climbs 60 degrees nose up, while number 5 rockets forward. Both moves display the FA-18's solid balance of finesse and muscle. The barrel roll break is a study in perfect execution by the boss. Performed in the diamond, all other pilots line up on the boss's jet. It's a twisting combination of roll and loop in formation with exits in different directions. The jets head toward the crowd, roll 90 degrees to the left, and complete the backside of the loop. For this maneuver, the boss has to be cool, calm, and of course, perfect. The tuck-over roll is one of the toughest maneuvers for the solo pilots. Simple in design, complicated in execution. Both jets rolled inverted as they approach center point and then perform a left 270-degree roll. The trick here is to provide the crowd at center point the illusion of only one jet. Jets 1 through 4 have their own tucking maneuver. the diamond tuck-under brake. No illusion here, only perfect coordination and timing. Each jet performs a 270-degree roll in ripple fashion and then rejoins on the boss to form a perfect diamond. The shows always end with the entire team in various delta formations, and as a last gesture, the traditional pitch-up break prior to individual landings. No matter where the Blues perform, the show continues all the way. The walk back, the last salute, and the final handshake. For the millions of people that come to see the Blue Angels perform every season from around the world, to a single person, they will tell you that this is the greatest show on earth and in the air. At the end of a show season, you really know what the Blue Angels are about. It's a story about a group of ordinary people who are called upon for a brief moment in time to be extraordinary. Members of the United States Navy and Marine Corps who have endeavored to become the best in the world at what they do. Men and women who might have dreamt about becoming a Blue Angel from the first time they saw the blue and gold at an air show. A dream that an 8-year-old Christian Cruz fulfilled after having had a first-hand look at perfection.
Just seeing the diamond fly, you know, in a tight formation and the solos flying at the speed that they did, I knew that those guys had to put a lot of effort into their job, you know, to see what I was seeing. And so that kind of made me think, you know, this is what I want to do. I want to work with a group of guys that's, you know, settles for nothing but the best, you know, and for perfection.
When you think about what it takes to precisely control 15 tons of airborne machinery in a way that only a human touch can achieve, it's breathtaking. But when the show is over and the crowds have thinned, the real touch of magic is a blue suit reaching out to touch a child and inspiring them to be the best that they can be and to go after their dreams. In the end, that's what being a Blue Angel is all about.